Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, America's kick-ass coach and psychologist, here with some words of wisdom for our day. And it was a little windy out there. Good grief. So today we're back to taking the war out of our words, the art of powerful non-defensive communication. And we've just read some parts recently on stating your understanding of someone's overt message and your understanding of someone's covert message. And this part that we're doing today is on interpreting their cause or motive. Good morning, Mel. Glad you are here. Welcome, welcome. So, good morning, Carolyn. Welcome. I gotta grab a drink here. So this next part, there's a really important piece in here that I think is going to make several of you go, really? And I understand her point for saying this, and I think she's spot on, but it certainly is not how we've all been raised and trained to communicate. Good morning, Lisa. Glad you are here. Welcome, welcome. So, taking the war out of our words, and we are on page 154 for those of you who have the book and want to follow along. Again, we've talked about what someone has said. We've talked about what they haven't said, but it's clearly a covert part of the message. And now we're talking about how we're interpreting what the other person is putting out there. So, interpreting cause or motive. When we hear any message from another person, we usually have our own subjective interpretation of what that message means. I call that our filters. Everything that's coming in from out there goes through our lenses, our filters, and oftentimes that changes the integrity of the message dramatically. So, yep, this is going to be really good stuff, Caroline. I think you're going to like this part. This interpretation goes beyond the scope both of translating what we believe the person is consciously telling us and of drawing attention to the covert messages. Good morning, Peggy. What they're not saying to us, but is obvious in their tone of voice, in their body posture. Good morning, Cindy. Glad you're here. This is good. We've got 8 of you here, which means there's 8 of you who are going to get this information and then go out and put it into the world. And we're going to get this ripple effect going of let's modify how we speak to each other and how we understand what people have said to us. Good morning, Judy. Welcome, welcome. All right, so we express the conclusions we have drawn about the cause or motivation we believe is underlying what the person is saying and the meaning of any contradictions we perceive. Good morning, Julia. So again, this is really putting ourselves out there. Good morning, Diane. In terms of what we think the other person is saying and what it means to us, and risking them being upset. But I think as I go through this information, you're going to see just how valuable this is. Learning how to do this, just how valuable it is. Our interpretation may pertain to the person's conscious motive. Ed may say to Nora, so again, Ed and Nora are the ones where he's got a paper due and she wants to get the garden cleared out and she's telling him she can do it on her own, but he's picking up in the way she's saying it, there's a pleading quality to it, that she wants his help. So he's calling that out, okay? Ed may say to Nora, I believe you are not being fully truthful when you say you can weed the garden yourself. I think you would like help, but you're not asking because you know I need to finish my report. He's putting it out there, okay? She might get upset about it, she might not, but at least he's putting it out there how he's perceiving what this conversation really means, okay? So here, this section is entitled The Importance of Verbalizing Our Interpretation of Motive. And I know this has often happened with my sister. She'll say it in an angry tone, but she'll put out there what she thinks I'm wanting to accomplish. And a lot of times it's off base. It's not accurate. Stating our interpretation of another person's motives aloud can be difficult. Yup. Even when we do so meticulously and sincerely, we are taking the risk of exposing A, our misunderstanding, B, being perceived as judgmental, or C, actually sliding into judgment. Because sometimes when you put these words out there, that inner judgment that you do have pops out. Really, in the long run, not a big deal, because we all make judgments. We all have prejudices and biases that leak out when we least expect it. Good morning, Lisa. Glad you are here. But when we withhold the information, we are not being fully open and honest. Here are some of the problems that can occur when we fail to verbalize our perceptions. Number one, if we don't verbalize directly, we may do so covertly. You might say to your sister who wants to borrow money, remember that there's the vignette of the sister who's the supposedly recovering drug addict who's asking for money, and the discomfort the person being asked has about, is she truly in recovery? Is this money going to go to drugs, etc.? You might say to your sister who wants to borrow money, I feel like I can't trust you to pay me back. Here you have said I feel as if describing your own emotions. Then you slipped into your interpretation of her motives, that she wants a handout and didn't intend to pay you back. This becomes a covert accusation. It also becomes you owning it. I feel, instead of this is what I'm perceiving coming from you, you're taking it on, okay? And that's kind of this next point. Number two, when blending your own feelings with our observations about another person's motivation, we can become confused about what our feelings really are. If you were to say to your sister, when you ask me for money, I feel manipulated, you have identified manipulated strictly as your feeling. Good morning, Susie. Glad you're here. You not only do not indicate that you see manipulation as her intention, you accept it as your own emotion, which may not be accurate. Can you see that subtlety there? So when we say it as if we feel it, instead of it's what we're perceiving coming from the other person, it lets them off the hook. It lets them off the hook. So there'll be some other words in here that'll help clear this up. How do you say it instead, kind of a thing. This can lead you to take on feelings that aren't yours and ignore others that are. In doing so, you undermine the accuracy of the communication and lose some degree of self-awareness. Good morning, Susan. Welcome. Because you're saying, I feel. So you're taking it on, okay? When you take on another person's intentions as your own experience, the person will often insist that it is solely your experience and even blame you for feeling the way you do. Good morning, Lucy. Welcome. Your sister might say in response to your statement about feeling manipulated, well, if you want to feel manipulated when your own sister asks for a little help, that's your problem. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Number three, if we don't verbalize the interpretation, we may deny it even when the other person points it out. And here's a pivotal, crucial point. Here's where I'd love to see all of us step up and own our stuff, okay? When others sense our conclusions or interpretations, we often deny them instead of saying clearly, yes, that was my perception. There's your words. Yes, that was my perception. Your sister may say, you don't trust me. You just think I want this money for drugs. And you reply, I do trust you. I'm just worried about you. No, that's not it. That's not it. Such a response sends its own contradictory message. You claim trust and then imply that there is a cause for misgivings. You're not being trusting. The honest response would be, so she says, you don't trust me. You just think I want this money for drugs. Your response is, yes, that was my interpretation. Own it. Own it. Cowboy up. Own it. Good morning, Renee. Glad you are here. Is this hard to do? Yes. Is this the portal for all manner of amazing communication to happen? You betcha. So now, if we're going to do this, how do we do this respectfully? All right? How do we do this well? It's one thing to say, speak your truth. It's another thing to know how to do it well. So here's some guidelines. Using the following guidelines can help you ensure that your position is conveyed non-judgmentally. Number 1, speak only in terms of the specific issue at hand rather than making a generalized statement. We tend to want to make the more generalized statement because we believe, and there may be some truth to this, that they're going to be less likely to call us out on our true beliefs if we hedge things, if we make it general. You know, people tend to blah, blah, blah instead of you tend to, or my experience with you is blah, blah. Okay? After your initial statement to your sister about how many times she has borrowed money and not repaid it, you might conclude, I believe you are saying you will pay me back without having a genuine commitment to doing it. That's pretty clear, right? Or, I don't believe you will take responsibility for paying me back. Again, clear statement. Here, your interpretation involves an underlying issue of either commitment or responsibility. You might also make a longer statement based on her involvement with drugs. For example, she may have promised that she is clean and just needs help to get a new start. Yet she is unwilling to take a drug test or get support services and appears to be in a desperate need for a fix. In this case, it is appropriate to say directly, I believe you have told me you are off drugs in order to manipulate me into giving you more money. I think it is likely you would walk out the door and go spend what I give you on more drugs. Very clear and to the point, right? Again, scary to do, but what do you have to lose here? You've taken this path before and you know what a hayride through hell it is. Why not try something different? Okay? In this case, you name manipulation as the underlying motive. You're not owning it. I feel manipulated. You're putting it over there. I see you manipulating me, blah, blah, blah. Speak the truth. Absolutely. Absolutely. But how we speak the truth is important. So that's why these guidelines, I think, are so helpful. In this case, you name manipulation as an underlying motive. Any of these straightforward statements expressed as a respectful, neutral description of your perceptions are far more useful than the covert judgments we often make. They are far less judgmental and inflammatory than an angry accusation such as, you never pay me back, or you're just trying to get more money for drugs. Can you see how that's going to escalate the verbal war? If, on the other hand, you're doing the more descriptive thing, I believe you have told me you are off drugs in order to manipulate me into giving you more money. I think it is likely you would walk out the door and go spend what I gave you on more drugs. Straightforward. And again, watch your tone. You can see that when I'm saying that, I'm merely doing a description. It doesn't have that 20 years of angst built up behind it. Does that take practice to do? Yes, absolutely. Should your sister accuse you of not trusting her when you state your interpretation of her motives, you can confirm that rather than deny it. Stop being Midwest nice. This is not going to serve you, all right? I do believe there is reason not to trust what you will do with the money I give you. I know the power drugs can have over any person, and I believe you are still hooked. Stating it flat, putting it out there. Here you specify the exact area of mistrust and identify your perception of the cause of her behavior instead of simply labeling your sister as untrustworthy. It's her addiction to drugs that's creating this mistrust. This kind of statement can remain respectful as long as it is neutral in tone and not designed to persuade her to get help. And again, that's a slippery slope. We have to be letting go of other people's paths in life. They make choices. If we've stated clearly where we're coming from on this thing, we don't need to beat the dead horse. We can allow them to walk their path. Would it be a path we would choose to walk? Probably not. Would it be a path that we think is going to turn out well? Probably not. But they're going to walk it nonetheless. So we may as well let go of trying to control it, fix it, articulate it, etc. All right? Number 2, after you have offered your non-defensive observations about another person's motives, avoid repeating yourself. We'll let that one sit for a moment. Let's just resonate with, don't repeat. Speak your truth clearly, be done with it. If you hold your statement as a truth bat, with which you pummel someone into submitting to your view, you move back into the war zone. This is about taking the war out of our words, not stepping back into that war zone. This kind of statement, this non-defensive observation about their motivation, is designed to be a mirror. You're holding up a mirror for someone else to see, not a club. So you're not beating them to death with it. You're merely going, here's the mirror. They choose to look, they choose not to look, they smash the mirror, whatever they do, you've done your part. You don't need to keep throwing it out there, all right? Is this hard? Absolutely. Number 3, should the person not want to hear your observation, stop respectfully. I think this is especially true with our kids. Sometimes we see them going down the not great path, and so we try to repeat and repeat and repeat. You know, she's not the greatest friend. Can you see how she's setting you up? This really isn't a good friendship, blah, 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 blah. It's not doing anything other than pushing that person toward that friendship, right? Should the person not want to hear your observations, stop respectfully. And when they come with something that kind of provokes that desire to say it again, you can just say, I've already said what I need to say. Persisting when someone does not want to hear what you have to say or continuing to repeat the same observations can become harassment. If they're very clearly showing you with their words, their actions, etc., that they don't want to hear what you have to say, stop saying it. And again, if they provoke at you, so let's say that daughter's about to go out to that friend's house. Well, I'm sure you don't want me to go see Cheryl. You don't repeat. You've already said it. So you can say, I've already told you what I think about that. Done. They're going to make their choices. They're going to deal with their outcomes. There's this thing called natural outcomes, and it is a far more powerful teacher for all of us than anything else. Good morning, Betty. Glad you are here. Whatever occurs naturally as an outcome of what we've done, said, etc., is a far more powerful teacher than anything, that's going to get you in trouble. Here's what's going to happen, all that predictive kind of stuff we like to do. Again, you still have choices to make. If that friend that your daughter's hanging out with, they've been drinking heavily and driving your car, maybe the rule is, if you're going to see Cheryl, you're not taking the car. You can ride your bike, you can have her come pick you up, whatever it is, but you're not taking the car. That's a reasonable line to draw in the sand, given what has happened. All right? So, how does this feel to you? What aspect of this would you like to grab onto and run with? What do you want to practice today? Do you want to just practice interpreting someone's motives neutrally? Do you want to practice not whipping out the truth bat and repeating? What do you want to practice? Yes. Okay, so Lucy, what would you like to do with those old stories? It might be, my sister is making the choice. It's a choice on her part to repeat the family drama. She is choosing that. If you've already made it clear that that's how you perceive what she's doing, look, you're just repeating the family drama. I don't care to participate in that. You've said your truth. You're done. You don't need to go over it. So it might be practicing well, you know where I stand on this. Walk away. Done. I'd love to hear some of you what you'd like to... The truth bat. Only swing it once. Yes. And sometimes when we can do the truth bat as a mirror, let me hold this up for you. Take a peek at this. Here's how I'm seeing it. I can see you're not seeing it that way, but I just want you to know, here's how I'm seeing it. Then you put the mirror down. You're done with it. Done. I think, again, our language has been so steeped in keep making your point, drive it home, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I choose not to be a part of this. You get to choose that. And we all know that especially with the family dynamics, it is a slippery slope. And it's like the sirens on the rocks. Come hither, and you smash your boat and down you go. Okay? It's very addictive to go there. It's very enticing to go there. And I can explain why that is. It's a trauma thing. Little kids in particular, when they've been traumatized in some way, they will play it out over and over and over again. In the past, when we did not understand that, we used that as an accusation against that kid. Well, if you knew you were going to get molested, why did you keep going over there? Little kids' brains work differently. They want to see, maybe I can go over there and there'll be a different outcome. I want to see that there's a different outcome. That's why people go back to relationships over and over and over. Maybe I can do something different and this will turn out different. And we keep testing this thing and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But we don't want to be accusing, again, the accusation, the judgment stuff, done. It does not serve us. If someone else is walking a path about which we feel judgment, do your own work on that. Do your own work on that. Do some journaling. I'm feeling judgmental of Jane Doe because she's doing XYZ. And I want you to, I'm going to pull an old saw from Alcoholics Anonymous. If you're pointing your finger at Jane Doe because of what she's doing, how many fingers are pointing back at you? Okay? There's a reason that what she's doing is provoking you. How is that manifesting in you? Where do you see that in you? Where's the unfinished business in you that needs addressing? Because you're the only playing field on which you have influence. You're the only place that you can make changes. You can't force someone else to make changes. You can point something out, they're going to make their own decisions. Okay? So that's a whole lot of stuff for today. This is really, really, really good stuff, though. So I hope that you will practice putting out there, speaking your truth about interpreting someone else's motives or the cause of their behavior, words, etc. Own it. Put it out there. And again, that there's some of you today even are going to be in that pivotal place of someone saying to you, I think you're telling me I'm whatever. If that behavior, I think you're telling me you don't think I'm going to get this report done. If that's what you truly feel, don't whitewash it with, well, no, I think you're going to get it done. I'm just worried about you getting it done. No. That's my perception. Yes, I think you're not going to get it done. What can we do with this? Okay, put it out there. Put it out there. Glad it was divine timing. Awesome, Carolyn. Glad so. All right, have an awesome day. See you again tomorrow. If you'd like to pop back in later today and put something in the feed about what you've noticed as you're practicing this part, the interpreting cause or motive on the part of someone else, I'd love to get some discussion going because this is such a linchpin of communication. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye.